Hello everyone, Fair Time here. If you're interested in making a game in GameMaker that has 3D functions, then you're going to want to know how to make a model usable by GameMaker. So we can do this with two different programs. These are the UV Mapper and GMModelFix, and these are available in the description. I'll be showing you just how to automatically put a file into a usable format by GameMaker, and I will also be showing you the extra functions provided by GMModelFix. So let's get started. First thing you'll do is open up the UV Mapper. Now we're going to create a UV map on the model. The UV map is a map saved to the model that allows the texture to be mapped according to some shape. Now if you want your texture to be applied to certain areas of the model, like you have a button that needs to be in a certain area on the model, then you're going to want to look up a tutorial for Blender or something like that that allows you to put that into that area. But if we just want to have a simple like metal or wood texture applied in no real specific fashion on a model, then we can have this UV Mapper tool to do it for us quickly. So we have to load up our OBJ model. I'll go to File, Load Model, and I will click on my model and open it up. It'll tell you some data about the model before opening it up. And as you can see, I don't have any UV map yet. So I'm just going to apply a box type map to this because I think that's the best. So what I'm going to do is go to Edit, New UV Map, and I'm going to click Box. You can mess around with the other shapes at your leisure. Now I'm just going to go ahead and use these default settings. And as you can see, here we go. We have the UV map laid out in the shape of a box. Now I'll just go ahead and go to File, Save Model, keep those 4 default settings, and then I will export it as slide new 4, because this is the slide for a 1911. So then after that's done, I'll go into my GMModelFix program. You'll have the default tank here. Go up to the File panel and click on this little open icon. Go ahead and open up your OBJ model. And as you can see, it's been sort of rotated around. It's not the way that I want it, because my character is by default facing in the positive X direction, so that's the way that we want this model to face so that it can rotate in the correct fashion. So let's go ahead and rotate this model. So we're going to want to rotate the model by going up to this model panel, clicking on this little circle with the arrows here, and we're going to use these 6 buttons right here. I use the other ones above it, but I will show you what those do in a bit. The ones below it are able to rotate the model on the model center rather than around a certain axis. So you can use those if you want to rotate the model just around its own axis rather than the global axis. But for now we want the global axis. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and change the value of the incremental rotations by clicking on this button right here. Now it's already at 90 degrees, but you can put in any number you want. And that will change the degree value by which the model is rotated. So once that's done, I'll go up to Z and rotate it. And that's not enough, so I will go ahead and rotate it like that. Now it's in the correct position around the Z-axis, but I still need to rotate it around the Y-axis. So I'll just go ahead and do that. I pressed something, didn't I? Yeah, I accidentally pressed a button. What did I press? There. Sorry, wasn't supposed to do that yet. So I'll go ahead and press the Y rotation until it's where I want it. So there we go. But we are still not done, because after GameMaker imports a model, which the GMModelFix program is made in GameMaker, it actually first flips around the Y coordinates. I don't know why, but it just does. So we need to flip them back by going to that same panel, and by hitting the -Y button. This is going to flip the coordinates around any axis. So say I wanted to do that, I wanted to flip it in the X direction, then I can simply do that by hitting that, and it will flip it around. So now that that's done, I need to apply normals. Now normals are lines that are pointing in one direction and only cross through the surface of the model at one point, and these affect how light interacts with the model. So if we want light to be applied to this model, then we're going to have to create some normals. Now we can create normals based on simply the face direction that the vertex is pointing in. So we're going to go ahead and go to the light panel and click this blue circle here, and nothing happened. And that means that there are no normals applied to this model. If there are normals, it will show them in yellow lines now. So I'm just going to create some normals by going up here to the model panel and clicking on this light bulb here. Now you can create the base normals in the same direction as the face by clicking on this triangle with an arrow through it here. And there you go, there's some normals. Now you can keep those, or you can smooth them out by calculating how they should go in relation to their neighbors by clicking on any of these buttons in the second row. I like to use the third one because that just seems to work for me. And you can see it just changed them, and it looks largely the same, but now it is a little bit more smooth when reacting with light. So those are the only things that you need to know right now if you want to just keep the model the way it is. If you are satisfied with that, you can go ahead and go to File and save it as a .d3d file. But there are other functions in GMModelFix that I like to use. These are, of course, the rotation around the model's local axis, and of course just flipping it around on various axes. We also have the move function, which the only time I ever use the move function is if I use these incremental move functions. You can change how much it moves by putting it into this box. So if I want it to move by 2, it will move by 2 anytime I hit one of these buttons. So those are the only ones that I use in that move panel. But we also have the scale panel, and I use just these top buttons here and this button here, which changes the scale value. And this is a ratio value, meaning 1.2 is the ratio of size to the original size right now. So 1.2, I hit that. Now I want it to scale on, say, the x-axis. I will increment it once along the x-axis in the plus direction, or in the minus. And you can do that on all axes. You can do that on any individual axes, or on all axes at once. Now if you want to do it by absolute length, like you want to, say, have something that is 5 units long, you can go ahead and click any of these to scale it in that direction. Like, say I want this to be 5 units long, only in the direction of X. Then you're going to want to click this bottom left one, and say I want it to be 5. And that will scale it down to 5 units in that direction. Now this third row I don't really use because it has to do with like the center mass or the scale. Honestly, I just never use it. It's kind of just annoying because it only does it, it just does it once of the incremental value. Like, it just, all axes 1.2. So it does the same as the incremental value. It's just that it only does it once instead of you being able to click this over and over. So there's really no reason for me to use those, in my opinion. But the next function that we can use is, of course, the last one that I really use, and that is loading in a texture. Which you come down here to the texture panel. You can show the texture or not show the texture. Load up the texture like a wood texture here. Now this was a thing with an old version of GameMaker where it loaded the lower right corner as a transparent color. I don't want that. And there we go. Now the wood texture is applied. And you can mess around with rotating the texture around if you want to have it in a certain orientation by clicking on this button. And you can then use this next piece to allow each face of the model to use that whole image. So it's kind of cheap. Like, it says a quick hack for badly UV mapped models. That's just kind of stupid to me, honestly. So this allows you to then shift the model's UV coordinates, and then this allows you to create a texture template. And those are the only ones that I really use in GMModelFix, as those are the only models as those are the only functions that you really need to use. But after that, you can simply use the D3D model create and D3D model load functions to load your model into the game. And that's really all I have to say for this video. Thank you for watching. For a timeout.